Here we are on Cricbuzz Live. This is the big one. It's the Super Saturday decider. We are 2-2 and looking forward to see who can take the edge in what's been a pulsating series so far. At the very top, quick word on the toss. This is game number 5. Yet again, a toss won by Owen Morgan and Team England. No surprises there. India have been sent a gilt-edged invitation card to go out and bat first. There is some key team news at the very top. Yes, indeed, KL Rahul will finally miss out. We'll come to that in a moment. But first, let me say a big hello to our guests in the studio. We've got a little bit of a change. So let me say a very warm welcome to Joy Bhattacharjya, back in the fold after a while. Joy, good evening.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Just that, I wrote to Zahid saying, to the Cricbuzz people, saying that 2 Mumbai Indian supporters in a single panel doesn't make too much sense. So we've just kept the one of them today.
There you go, Michael. First salvo fired. That was Joy's way of saying good evening.
Good evening, Michael.
Good evening, Joy. Good to have you on, and delighted that you've been listening to us on this show. I think we've been quite right, though. Mumbai Indians have helped India win a game or two in this series. Looking forward to this. I tweeted earlier, I think this could be the World Cup final in a few months' time on the same venue. So it really has been a tremendous series. To get to the final game, it is a final. And what preparation that is for both teams leading into a T20 World Cup series in about 7 or 8 months' time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so interesting. As I said, Joy, at the very top, we were making all our speculations. We thought if it is KL Rahul to go out, it should probably be Ishan Kishan to come in. It's not. We've had the man with the Nataraj shot, which was Surya Kumar Yadav, and he's going to be joined by the man called Natarajan. So a very interesting change made by Team India. No Ishan Kishan. Virat Kohli goes to the top. He'll open the batting with Rohit Sharma. That is huge news from Team India. Joy, your first reaction?
I think it's not a bad idea at all. And the reason I say that is that one is that Virat has opened. He is used to opening and batting. Number 3s are good at opening. The second thing is, I think what he must have thought is the England bowlers would have had a lot of time. The England batsmen would have had a lot of time to think about Hardik Pandya and Shardul and how to hit them and how to tackle them. Hardik really got away with it. He bowled brilliantly and got away with it in the last match. I think they're saying if they're going to practice him in the nets and sort him out, they can't afford the expense of not taking a 6th bowler into a final. And I think in finals, bowlers make for a lot more. They're really important. I think that's what they were thinking about, saying if Hardik gets collared today by any chance, he got away with it last time, where are we going to go?
Michael, that's 2 boxes ticked at one go. Everyone wants Virat Kohli to bat up the order. Obviously, 3 is his preferred slot, but the higher up, the better for Virat Kohli, and 6 bowling options. So I think India have sort of gone into this with a little more security in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's a real positive move by the skipper himself. I mean, in the last game, he came in at number 4. By the time he got out there was only 76 deliveries left in the innings. By opening the batting, he's got 120 balls to kind of manoeuvre. If he bats 60 of them, India are going to get a very, very big score. He'll get a big personal score, and the team be on top. So I always say in T20 cricket, whoever your best players are, you decide upon they are your best player, put them at the top of the order, because you want them to bat as many of those 120 balls as you possibly can. 2 or 3. Surya Kumar Yadav played so well in the last game, he had to stay at 3. I think it's a real smart move by Virat Kohli. Clever.
2 things we look at, Joy, from Natarajan's point of view. One is, we were just talking off air before the show started about the effectiveness of those slow cutters and the slower length balls that troubled England in the last match. That's something Natarajan can deliver. And the surprise factor. He did it to Australia, and Australia, England haven't seen enough of him.
England haven't seen enough of him. That's true. My only worry is that he's a young man and he will now be bowling with the dew. There's going to be a lot of dew. I know, of course, that they're used to bowling dew in IPL matches, in Tamil Nadu Premier League matches, but it's not easy for a young bowler to be able to grip the ball in those conditions and do it. Because, see, Yorkers depend much more on accuracy than almost any other delivery that you do. You get your length wrong for a Yorker, it slips out of your hand even slightly, you're in trouble. So that's the only thing. A lot of pressure on him. So the kid has done fantastically over this past year. It's been like a dream to him. So, given how he's going, for him to play a big final is just, the icing on the cake.
Yep. Let's also put an eye out on the England 11. Lots of responsibility on Moeen Ali. He'll be given an extra set of drinks to carry out onto the field. So he'll be kept very busy, Michael Vaughan. Once again, we kept wondering, will he, won't he, will he, won't he? It was the Rose finally finished up at He Loves Me Not. He's not in the team.
Well, I just look back to that second Test match where he played and he did okay. And he's not played Test match cricket for such a long period of time. He got his Test place back. Whether you agreed with Dominic Best being dropped at that time or not, they gave Moeen that Test shirt. And then they asked him to stay on. He said, no, I want to go home to rest for the one-dayers, the T20 series. Well, he hasn't played a game. You'd have thought there'd have been more communication, and I'm sure there was. Whether they thought Moeen was going to play in this T20 series or not, it seems to me that communication has not been a great one. You just look at the screen, the amount of players that play across the formats. You know, Johnny Bairstow playing 4 tests, playing all the T20s. Butler's played 3 tests, all the T20s. Ben Stokes 4, all the T20s. And then you've got the Jofra Archers, Sam Currans, Mark Wood, who played 2. And Mark Wood played 4 of the 5 T20s. So I just look at maybe Moeen wants to be a white ball specialist in time. We'll have to wait and see. But I said the other day that it makes the kind of rotation and Moeen going home to rest for the one days. It makes it all a little bit of a mockery when he's not played any part in this series.
It's something we chatted about a lot, Joy, in the last 4 games with Michael and Zahir. It's just one of those things that didn't make sense. We saw it in the Test series. The bubble, of course, is a factor. But at the end of the day, we've always said, even pre-COVID, that if a player is not playing, if there's an opportunity, say, for example, to give him domestic cricket or anything, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I just thinking that, England has run their cricket setup over the last 3-4 years. It's been a model. The way they've sorted out the World Cup, they went from 2015, they've improved as a one-day team. I'm just surprised they haven't done it by not being communicative, by not telling players what they're doing. Clearly, there's something here that's not gone across. Either when Owen didn't hear the message that if Moeen's in India for the T20 specifically, he needs to play, or he just happens to think that, okay, you guys do your job as selectors and pick who you want to, but I need to pick my 11 to win. And it's been an unfortunate set of circumstances, because if I'm in Moeen's position, I'd be looking at it and saying, that is an awful waste of time, the way it turned out.
And also, just a quick factor to end with, Michael. Sometimes you look at those, and thanks to the IPL and thanks to, of course, a decent performance in a test, performances in that country, if you've been there and you've done that, has to count for something. And Moeen has done it in IPL colours.
Yeah, he's a high-class cricketer. We've seen that across the formats for a few years. He can impact with the ball, with the bat. He's good in the field. He's a good team member, great in the dressing room. So I personally would want him in all my squads. I just find it very bizarre that England have managed the situation like they have. And I was very critical of the rotation policy. You're playing your best team in India away from home in Test match cricket. Surely you want your best players available. The actual buyer bubble it is an issue, but those that came back for the T20 and the one days on February the 26th, I think Moeen got about 6 days at home because he left after that second test. He's now in India potentially till the end of the IPL. So by actually resting for a week and missing 2 test matches to come back for the T20s and the one days and the IPL, that bio bubble that they're in now goes from international bio bubble to IPL bio bubble. I'd have thought it'd have been better off playing the test series, then having a breather, then coming back for the IPL. It would have broken up the bio bubble a little bit better for someone like Moeen Ali, but they made the decision. It's just slightly confusing. I think there'll be many like me kind of looking at it going, England rested Moeen Ali so he could be the best drinks waiter that he possibly had in this series. He must be bloody good at mixing those drinks.
I wonder also, Joy, if there's a case now with everything, with the world having changed the way it has. The support staffs are so big in franchises, of course, even in national teams. Can we not have a travel agent full time to sort of advise the captain who can go, who can't go, who should stay?
No, I'm definite that there are guys who are developing into this roles. I know 5 years back, nobody would have thought about, people carrying people who just do throwdowns. But today, almost every international team carries specialist throwdown. They carry specialist masseurs. So these things are happening. Don't be surprised if you'll have a sort of occupational therapist, as in, for other things to do, not a psychologist, sports psychologist, but an occupational guy saying that, I'm going to look after you because the bubble is very difficult. I'm going to go and talk to the players who are having it. All these things are going to happen. And it sounds funny, but that is the reality of the world. And the amount of money that's riding on it for them to stay in their hotel rooms and to stay in their hotels, I think they need to be looked after as much as possible because it can't be easy for them.
Joy, you just burst my bubble. I had already had these visions of being an aviation geek, and I thought I could sort of throw my hat in the ring, but there goes the CV from that. At this point, I don't have a role to play at the moment. It's only an occupational therapist. We'll get to that in a while. For the moment, let's get to the audience and figure out what they've had for us today. Our hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live question. And the last time around, we had something on Ben Stokes. It seems they love their all-rounders. Here's one from Tonmoy Chakraborty on Hardik Pandya. Is he playing too low in the batting order as he was in great form in Australia, but not getting many deliveries to play here? We've alluded to the number of deliveries kind of that he's had. Joy, you want to take that one first? Can we maybe have it as a floater?
Yeah, my point is, exactly the point. We've been discussing this all IPL. People like Hardik Pandya, like Kieran Pollard, they should come in depending on the number of overs that have been bowled at that particular time, not necessarily the number. So if it's 115, 114, 115 for one, and you're 17 overs down or something, I would send in Hardik Pandya. The whole question about him is, it's the number of balls he has to play because he can heat up fast. What does a finisher do? I mean, essentially the difference between a finisher and a guy who plays at the top of the order is the guy at the top of the order normally takes a little more time to heat up and a little more time to sort of play around and then plays. Finishers don't have that luxury. So I would definitely, if his job is that of a finisher, it doesn't depend on the number that he's batting. It depends at what point in the innings he's sent out. And I don't think India had much. So you're going to have situations like a 48 for 4 as well, where he's going to come in and play 12 overs and you can't expect him to smash the ball in first ball. So it's all very circumstantial. When you're batting in those kind of positions, you are a reactive batsman. You're not setting an agenda. You are reacting to what has already happened, what your last 4 batsmen have done. And therefore, I don't think they're not batting Hardik. I think they're batting Hardik as well as they could have. They're not misusing him.
How would you play Hardik Pandya, Michael? The other day we saw him sort of very impatiently sitting on the fence, almost waiting like an enthusiastic school child. Am I going to get my turn, teacher? Didn't happen.
Well, with Virat moving up to the top of the order, it pushes Hardik Pandya at one space anyway. So I think he'll be in his rightful position at number 6 in terms of the batting order. But I personally, as soon as you get to around 11 or 12 overs, as soon as you lose a wicket, I'd throw in Hardik Pandya. I think those kind of players, if you can give them 7 or 8 overs, you know that they can strike 50, 60 runs individually. So very simply, as soon as you get to a number in terms of the overs, Hardik Pandya is next in. India have to decide upon that number of overs that they would like him to be next in. But I personally would look at 11 or 12 overs, whatever the situation of the game, Hardik Pandya goes in next.
And notice, Joy, by the way, there's a little trend that we noticed in the entire 5 matches. That was the first complimentary thing he said about a Mumbai Indians player without reminding us that he plays for the Mumbai Indians.
That's unbelievable. Go on.
I was just about to get to that, Gautam, with my next.
Fair enough. But let's come back to the international battle here, Joy. Unless you had one more to finish off with. Go on.
No. I just want to say that Michael, what you've been doing in my absence, I've been watching very, very carefully, and I love the way you've been baiting Indian fans. You are this year's the 2021 winner for the Greg Chappell Award for really inciting Indian fans. And the last person to win that after Greg Chappell was a certain John Buchanan when he was in KKR in 2008 and did things with Saurav Ganguly, which Kolkata did not appreciate. But I love the way you're playing this crowd. They love you here in India. And there is word that they're going to make you the honorary mayor of Bombay. That's Mumbai. It's on the cards.
Well, it's my favourite place in India. So I'm only speaking the truth, Joy. I'm only trying to give India a little bit of advice that from my distant home here in Cheshire, I can see that the Mumbai Indians are a magnificent T20 team. And India would be silly not to be just picking a few more of those players and putting them into the blues of the Indian T20 team. Because the likes of Surya Yadav, Ishan Kishan, then you get Bumrah, Rohit, Hardik Pandya. Tremendous T20 players. And you only have to look at the last game when Rohit got the captaincy. What happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey.
There are 7 other franchise teams who are just looking at you and wondering, oh, Michael, consultant for this year's IPL. No, I think you've settled very clearly which city you want to consult with when you come to the IPL.
Right. I'll leave Michael to ponder on where he's posting the CV to. But let us focus on the series. Remember, at the very top, we reminded you, like you needed any reminding, that it is a decider. Owen Morgan briefly alluded the fact that he doesn't mind the fact that they're playing almost a knockout game, the final game, the deciding game. And there you go. We really want to play in a must-win game like this. It's the closest thing that we get to playing in a World Cup or a Champions Trophy. And of course, there's a World Cup coming up in a few months' time in India. And this could be potentially the venue for the grand finale. But let's look back a little bit from India's point of view. How have they done when they've been level at a series with a decider to play? And I can tell you the record is very, very good. Going back to 2016, series at 1-1, home or away. And we've taken 3-match series into account, obviously, because most series have been 3-match series. 5-match T20I series have been very, very rare. India winning them all, drawing that one thanks to a washout. 2017, that was at home. And the only one, Joy, that has gone against them is the decider in New Zealand in 2019. And that was away from home.
Yeah, in fact, I want to take you up on this because, Gautam, I want to allude to a time where you spent a lot of time with the Indian team. In India's, how history tends to, we tend to be clouded about history. In 2000 to 2004-05 is looked at one of the golden periods of Indian cricket history. Saurav Ganguly as captain, Sehwag, Sachin, Kumble, Dravid, Lakshman, Yuvraj, all sorts of stars. Saurav Ganguly, I just picked up a report when he just lost the Asia Cup in 2004. And India had reached 13 finals. 3 of them had been washed out. Remember, there was a lot of games in Asia which were getting washed out due to rain. India had won just 1 final, which was a NatWest in 2012, and lost 9. Okay, that was somebody who's regarded as India's most successful captain, and he lost that many finals. If you look at that record compared to the record now, it is almost unbelievable how well we now play in crunch situations. And I think a large part of it again comes from the IPL. Just the experience of playing in big match crunch situations. It's been a sea difference, really a sea difference.
Joy, that was the actual reason why the shirt came off. It was not Flintoff. It was the relief. The only final that we won. Okay, go on, off with the shirt. Michael, but we won't dwell on that because it's a subject that's a sore point with most Bengalis. But a record like that, it's one of the big changes you would have noticed in Indian cricket between that era and now. And the personnel in that era were the same, if not better.
Yeah, I guess, Joy mentioned the IPL, the pressure that these players are under pretty much day to day. They're a fantastic group of players. I think Virat deserves a lot of credit, the way that he drives the team. They're very much in the faces of the opposing side. They play an aggressive game in the field with the bat, with the ball in hand. India now have, all kind of obstacles covered in terms of pace. They've got the spin. They've got the left-hand, right-hand combinations. I still think they can be a better fielding team. I look at this Indian team and think, they've got everything. I don't think they're a brilliant fielding team, and that might be their kind of downfall in a few months' time if they're not careful. That T20 cricket, particularly when it gets to semi-final, finals, you're talking of small margins, 1%, 2%, 3% differences in the teams, and it might be an individual innings of brilliance, an individual bowling spell, 2 or 3 overs of brilliance, a flying one-hand catch, a brilliant run out. But a real collective team fielding unit can win you a game of T20 cricket. And so far, I haven't seen that from this Indian side. I've seen, individual brilliance with the bat, with the ball. I haven't seen a collective team fielding effort. And I do think in T20 World Cups, you will have to field a lot better than what we've seen in this series. So it doesn't surprise me that they're very good in bilateral one-off games like this because they're an outstanding team. But England are pretty good as well. England like these one-off games. They have been for 3 or 4 years now in the white ball game. They generally are not scared. They're not scared of the big stage, the big moments. So I'm intrigued today of how it goes, how they come out and play. India, I think, have the upper hand because they won doing it this way just a couple of days ago. India have got a bat with great fearless approach again, try and get to 180 plus, and then all the different cutters, all the variations have come out. But England will fancy getting early wickets. If they can get Virat out early, they'll fancy restricting India for something under 160, and then you'll say that England will be favourites.
Yeah, the experience, Joy, you can't really take anything away from that. We showed you that graphic for India, but let's not forget, without going into a history of it, in all the bilateral tournaments they've played, India is the only team who have actually beaten them. And of course, if you look across 50 and 20 over format, 2016 World Cup final, T20, 2019, of course, champions.
And England are excellent. England are brilliant at this. And I think what England does very well now is calmness. Morgan is a very, very calm captain, and I think it tells, and again, we talk about captains. Look at the different captains. Virat is this very explosive, this bundle of energy, but he's also a bundle of emotions. I mean, you can read every emotion in Virat Kohli's face. Morgan, you have no idea what's going on. He's much calmer. He's much more relaxed about it. And generally relaxed captains are maybe less inspirational in that sense, may not be so overtly inspirational, but they can in tough situations, they can calm their team down. You look at the captain, you're saying skipper seems to be all right with all this. He's there. We're going to sort this out. And that helps in situations like this. I believe Morgan has been a huge factor in this.
Michael, at the end of the previous game, you mentioned one of the differences between the two teams is that India are the only one of the two who have won both ways. I'll add one more stat to that. The last 3 series, the bilateral series we've had in India, which have had deciding games, India have been asked to bat first every single time, and they've won each one of them. So they've Bangladesh, West Indies, Sri Lanka. So it's not alien territory.
No, so what you're trying to say to me, Gautam, England have got no chance. We'll wait and see. I've said to you, in the white ball arena, I sit back on this chair and relax because I know England generally play a good brand of cricket. If it's red ball cricket, I'll get my pillow out and I hide behind it. But this team, as Joy mentioned, Owen Morgan is very calm. He will have concerns about his team in Indian conditions that they don't quite have enough. They're either, a right-hand finisher missing in that middle, or one mystery spinner missing because they've only got Adil Rashid. The seamers in terms of Mark Wood and Jofra Archer with the pace are magnificent. You see the likes of Curran, Ben Stokes, Chris Jordan. They get mixed around with their overs, and I think opposing teams fancy hitting those 3 in particular. But if Jofra Archer and Mark Wood come out and have their day, and Jofra knocks over Virat early and they get 2 or 3 quick ones, England will fancy this. But it's that Virat Kohli factor. Generally, when India need runs and it's a big game, it's very rare that Virat Kohli fails. So I would expect Virat Kohli to arrive at the top of the order. And it wouldn't surprise me by going to the top of the order in a game like this. If he does well, that could be his position. And it's a dangerous position for the rest of the world. Because if Virat's opening the batting in a few months' time, I know personally, if I was playing against India, I wouldn't want Virat Kohli to open the batting because I know that he's got potentially 120 balls to impact the game. I'd prefer him at 3 and 4 with those balls kind of knocking off. Virat's not in yet, good. Another over, good, he's not out there. So when he came out the other day when there was only 76 balls remaining, I personally sat back and thought, as an England fan, I would be delighted about that. The fact now he's got 120 balls to face, I think that's danger for the opposition.
The only time, Joy, other than, of course, what Michael mentioned in terms of Test cricket versus white ball cricket, that he does get the pillow out is when it's Joy factor time. So, Michael, I think we need the pillow out. Joy, get that out of the way.
Okay, no. This is one where I think Michael will have a little bit of it's related with a player he knows pretty well as well. Okay, the ICC rankings rate the best players at the end of each calendar year, going back right to the start of the game in 1877. Who is the first Indian to be number 1 in the rankings? So this is obviously Test rankings. It could be a batsman. It could be a bowler. They don't have fielding rankings. Who is it?
Fair enough. So all of you, in case you use that one technique, you can go ahead and use that. Otherwise, try and use your thinking caps. Try and get back into history and see who it could possibly be. But we've got to put our thinking caps on. Michael Vaughan, can we take 164 yet again? It's auction time.
Yeah, I'm sticking with it.
He likes the number.
164, yeah.
4 in a row. He got 164 spot on in one game, and he stuck to that every single time. So 164, it's a combination of the predictivity and also wishful thinking, because he'd love India to get 164, because if they do, England are going to knock that off like a stroll in the park. So I think, Joy, they need to get a lot more.
Yeah, I'm going 172.
172. I'm wondering if that's going to be enough. Virat Kohli's had a smile on his face. He's up the order. He said it's a better pitch than the other day. Was he playing mind games? Well, not for me, as far as I'm concerned. I'm going optimistic. 186. 186 for Team India. Michael Vaughan, that little relaxed position is going to be a little less relaxed, but we still love England. It's just going to be a cracking finish. That's all we can promise. Thank you, gentlemen. Lots more to come in the mid-show. Lots more to come at the end. And of course, on Cricbuzz Combox in the 10th over. We'll see you soon. This is Cricbuzz Live.